Alright, here I am yet again. I'm super amazed that people are so interested in how I do my work, and I love to tell you how I do it. I do have to say I'm a little tired. It's 10:40 and I worked on this image for 3 hours. So I hope you have some patience because I'm going to break it down what I all did. As you can see, I got quite some groups, which I'm gonna switch on for now. The end result is here. As you can see, it's quite full of colors and contrast and shadows and highlights and everything in between. What you should know first is that I shot it with strobes. I shoot with the AD600 and the AD200 Godox. I used a deep white umbrella above her and a Octabox, deep Octabox behind me. I do have to say the original was a little bit too light. I had difficulties today to do the lighting right because I'm still working on my lighting techniques, and I had a full day of shooting already, which made me pretty tired. So at the end I was like, this was the image that I actually wanted to do half the day, but I was working with some people for a portfolio shoot, so I wanted to give them some images which are totally different from this. But yeah, at the end of the day I was tired. You know how it goes. I do have to get this one up. Sorry, I had to do it real quick because also I'm going to show that this was something I tried, it didn't work out. I will tell you later why. Okay, so back to the original. It's messy at the end. At the beginning it's quite, you can kind of see what I try to do, and then the original is quite crazy. Okay, so the complete original is this. I have to show you. Where do I have it? Yeah, it's this one. This is a screenshot of it, so I hope you can see it. But this was the actual image that I used. As you can see, I have my deep white umbrella up here with a diffuser and the AD600 Godox, which, you know, I've been thinking, should I get Profoto? Should I get Godox? I really was going towards Profoto because I really like their, what they show, but I quickly realized that it's, you know, it's good, but it's also marketing. So they make it look crazy good, and I'm a sucker for expensive, crazy good looking things. But I was on a budget and I decided, you know, I have to do some research. I have to not take the easy way. I need to try and find something that works for me. And I did some research on these, and of course there's a difference between these and the Profoto ones, but these are like $1,000 cheaper, and honestly it's still amazing what you can do with them. So I'm working with these now. This is the original image. Then I did a few of these type of shots, which look so cute. As you can see, we put the waves in later, which I will show you in the build-up, and we used a curtain. So there was, I had 4 of these curtains bought at a thrift store, $2.50 each. I cut one in half and draped it around her, put a little sash in the middle. The back of this, by the way, she was, you know, you could see her butt. She wasn't naked, she had her pants on, but it was not covered at the back. So it was just the front, just for show. And then we put another of the curtains in and made the wave. We couldn't do that with the original one because we had to build it up like crazy and it would bulk up and it didn't work. So this is what we had to do. And eventually I put it, you know, into Photoshop. As you can see, I made it longer here. That's why this is looking so incredibly funky. And this is also edited. So it was a lot smaller. I took out the umbrella that you saw in the original one. I tried to, you know, kind of make it look okay. I work the best when I just go. I am not a person that overthinks an image beforehand. So also, this image seriously was born, I looked at her, the model came in, I looked at her, I was like, wow, she looks like somebody who is, I do things very intuitive, and all my work is about motherhood and womanhood and, empowerment of female, the female power. And so I saw her, and I just felt like she has this energy around her that's vulnerable and yet, you know, striving and being free. So at first I thought about a bird. We have birds at home, so I wanted to do something with one of my birds. The bird, of course, didn't sit for the shoot. So eventually I thought, okay, I will shop him in later. But then when I started thinking and I got to know her a little bit over the shoot, like, no, a bird is a little bit too harsh. I want to use a butterfly. And at first I thought butterflies are too typical, but I will show you what I did to make it, in my opinion, less typical. So I still wanted the photo to be around her. So we used the curtain. First group that we have here, I sharpened the image first. That was needed. So I did that beforehand. You can also do it later, but I just did it beforehand. And then I started the build up. So you can see here how these are all images. I did a little extra attachment right there. It had to fit under the hand, you know, I had to make sure that that worked. So that's what I did. I turned them around a little bit, twisted them, made sure that they go under the hands, and decided to add shadows later. Then I did the frequency separation, which, you know, I did do some. Sometimes I edit, especially skin, too heavy. I'm still working on that, you guys. But for the painterly images, that's not bad at all. I want them to be smooth feeling, so this works great for me. I use frequency separation for this. So what I do is I use the tool right here, which is a mixer tool, but I don't know how it's called in English because this is the Dutch version. But I do use this and to smooth out her skin for these kind of images. And I know that's tricky, and I know that's not the right way to do it, but it works for me. So deal with that. Then we got the dodging and burning, and I decided to do the coloring in here as well. So I'll show you. Let's go down. Okay, so first I changed the color of the dress, which I always do in color toning. And is it illumination? I'm not sure, but it's found here. That's it. When what I normally do is I click on it, I use the hand to decide the right color, and then sometimes I make the color range larger so it actually takes the whole color. So what it will do is you can just change the color towards what you want it to be, and, you know, make it softer, make it darker. I love these kind of tones. Ooh, this is beautiful. And this is honestly one of the things that I almost always do to an image. I love changing colors. It really helps me to put it all in perspective for myself. And yeah, I just love it. I'm sorry, I added a group. Alrighty. This was about what it was. Then I also decided, oh yeah, I want to add the butterfly. Hello, butterfly. This was a teeny tiny butterfly that I photographed during one of our holidays, and I thought it was perfect. It kind of blends in. I really wanted it to be about her and not specifically a butterfly, but I think it's that, like, that final little touch that I needed for this image, because it's such a big symbol, you know, of being free and you know, becoming this other person and coming out of a cocoon, you know. Yeah, I just loved it. Just a small little symbolism, and it works with the flowing of the dress, you know, which is also stands for freedom and stuff. I'm an artist, you guys. I just overthink these things a lot. Of course, I did a little bit of color toning on him, a tiny bit, so it fit a little bit more dressed. It's a hinge, but I liked it. Then I used dodging and burning for highlights, which I always overdo, and the darkening. And you can see how I really darkened up her skin, and that was because I overdid the flash. So yeah, that happened. And I add a hint of you know, downing the color. I especially like it on the skin. It makes the highlight look a little bit better. So I actually use the layer that I normally use to do the dodging and burning as that layer, and I set it on opacity of 9% or 10% or whatever works for that image. And that's how I do it. What is this? Sometimes sometimes I just see things, I'm like, oh, I need to add a little bit of this, and I just dump it in there and it just ends up in a place where it shouldn't be. But yeah, I added some shadow, you can see it right here, because that worked better. Now this group actually didn't work out for me. So I'm pretty good with Photoshop and I can do quite some, but, and this was one of the first times that I thought to not work with a preset beforehand. Normally I add a preset in Lightroom and I work from that, and I really wanted to try this time to just work from my own. I do that for different kind of images sometimes, and this time it just didn't work out. I tried some things, I was like, bleh, didn't work, I wasn't inspired. So I went back to Lightroom eventually, and this is not advisable because you should always do that first, so then you can build the TIFF layer on, and now I did it at the last. So it's for the quality, I don't think it's the best, but because it's not for a client, I'm like, meh. You know, it's about what I see, it's not about all the techniques every time. So here, what I then did, I saved the image like this, went to Lightroom, which is not open now, but I don't think it's super important to show that right now. And I went to my presets. Now I work with several presets. I am mostly inspired by Tribe Archipelago. I love their contrast and depth that they give to the image. I have several of them and I love them. Most of the times, as I said, I use that beforehand and not afterwards when I did a lot to an image. I mostly start out with a preset just because they inspire me. They give a certain color toning, where I can see which way I want to take an image, and then still I quite change stuff, especially because I really change up the shadows and the highlights and stuff like that. But yeah, this time it went the other way around. So I actually started out doing those layers. I'm looking at this layer, something feels crazier. Oh yeah, of course, because they're all on. Just give me a second here, shut this all off. As you can see, in the end, it always becomes messy with me, because then I get to a point where I just don't care in which folder it is, and I just want to get it done. I'm an impatient person from nature, but you know, this image took about over 3 hours, so I'm not impatient every time, but at the end, you know, I just want to make it look good and not overthink in which folder everything goes. But put it in Lightroom, put a preset over it, and then I exported it as a DNG and put the DNG over this one, and then I thought it was too much, so I downgraded a little bit to 75%. Normally I don't do that, but for this image somehow it worked better to, you know, not do the opacity too high. I can show you maybe how it looks. Yeah, it's just a tiny hinge, it's not too much, but I just felt like the background was getting too much, the contrast was getting too much, so I did a little lighter. And then I probably just put something in between. I don't even know what this is. Not important then. It's probably something, the dress that I saw, and it's like, oh, I need to change this. I can't even see what it is, whatever. Oh yeah, what was this again? This was teeny tiny. Oh, this was her skin. I remember this. There was too much redness in her skin, and so I toned it down. It's almost not visible. It's that teeny tiny. I'm such a perfectionist. I see something and I have to change it. Yeah, you can hardly see it. It's so funny that I did this. This is so funny. Okay, moving on. You know, if it's, I do these things in betweens, and sometimes they actually have, you know, they do something and sometimes they don't. And it's really funny to see how this works. All right, oh yeah. Okay, so this layer is quite important as well. I put a extra, oh, also, before I exported the image from Photoshop into Lightroom and back, I actually already added a vignette. That's what this is. This was the vignette that I put in. This is so funny, it gets so messy. But this was the vignette that I put in before I actually exported it to Lightroom. So you can imagine it was like this looking kinda, and then I did this around it, and then I exported it into Lightroom, and then I added in a little bit more of vignette to kind of cover cover the last things up, which was this one. Okay, so that one, yeah. And then I just felt like the dress needed a tiny bit more drama. I'm really all for drama, so that's what I did here. I actually copy and pasted my dodging and burning layers and put them back in here. Alright, so that's it. I mean, I know I should have shown it all to you, and I will, I promise, at some point, but when I do these images, my computer is like on high load, and if I then add it, I don't know how it's gonna take it. But so, now you know how it's built up, and I hope you kinda, you know, can see what I did. Thank you.